I work with some amazing cyclists from the road channel to the off-road channel to the triathlon network. There are some incredibly fit people to people who are downright bonkers, but ultimately we might ride on different surfaces and dress differently, but we all share that same love of cycling. Until that is, you start talking about e-bikes.
What I don't like is it piggybacking off all the culture of mountain biking without giving back. If it's a natural trail, you shouldn't use anything other than leg power to get to the top of it. It's being deteriorated by people that I didn't feel were giving anything back to the community. They were there never digging trails, but they were there wheel spinning up them, and that I can't abide.
Now it seems nothing splits the ranks more than a motor and a battery. I'm not saying that prejudice exists, it's just that there's a few holes in the understanding of e-mountain bikes. And it's not just in the office, it's actually in places all over the world. You come across people who simply don't get e-mountain bikes. One such person is a colleague of mine, Quinney, who's a self-proclaimed hater of e-bikes. So let's take him for a ride and see if we can change his understanding, shall we say, of the good old e-mountain bike. I mean,
everything.
Look, seriously. I mean, you're trying to make light of it now. I mean, I thought we'd look.
Steve.
No. You wait a minute,
okay.
Right? You've been rattling on to me for 6 months how much you hate e-bikes, and suddenly you're going to just belittle it and make light of our whole discussion which we've been having.
Not at all.
It's not like that, honestly. If you really, I mean, why? I'm actually against even doing this whole thing, because why should I want to convert? I'm not interested in converting you. You do what you want. You go bury yourself on the hills.
Every element of this has been tailor-made for e-biking. Aerodynamic, protective, active wear, and these Crocs have stopped me earthing out the bloody motor. I could get electrocuted, mate.
Having said that, I have got you a present.
Oh, have you?
I have.
Oh. Thank you very much. I actually just got my provisional through the post. This is
provisional. Yeah, you haven't even done your theory yet.
Fantastic. Well, let's get some pins up. Let's get me going. I think things look like they might get a little bit technical, so I'm going to go into sport mode. There we go. Put the spoilers up. This will ensure not only am I safe from shorting out the bike, I've got grip, style, and speed. Oh, my bloody Crocs are everywhere! Oh, she's blown out! I think we're gonna have to go back, Steve. I'm gonna get kitted out, take this a bit more seriously. E-bikes have got a lot better, and actually this is a source of great concern for me. When they looked absolutely horrific, the batteries were crap, they couldn't really get anywhere, that was brilliant. That's how it should be. But now you're getting these sleek e-bikes, and I think they need to be limited by their design. And when I remember once Steve said to me that in a couple of years all bikes can have electric motor, and I just sounded like the death of culture to me.
Well, judging by the change of a tyre, you think things are about to get serious, which they are.
Potentially.
Now, Henry, we both share the same love of riding technical trails,
yeah.
But we've got to get to the top.
Yes.
Before I talk about that, now, one of the things I hear haters say more than anything is that they say to me, mate, only way when I can't get to the top of the hill.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes.
You hear it all the time. But we've now come to this spot here, and as you can see, there are no mountain bike trails on the ground. It's a pretty steep gradient.
Yeah, but isn't it not relative? Because, you know, getting up what hill? Because, you know, anyone can cruise up a 1% gradient for a long time, but that, to be fair, is going to be a bit tricky.
But one question, what mode are you going to be riding in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've used the washing machine before. Is it a bit like that?
It's very simple. It's very simple, Henry. If you want to work out, you go on eco. If you want to take it easy, if you want to enjoy life, and let's not forget, there are people out there who've never been mountain biking.
That's very true.
And, you know, something like this will be a massive barrier to the sport. So they could maybe use the boost mode. But I recommend eco.
Eco?
For you. You in the right gear?
Oh yeah, I've got one.
And away he goes.
Oh my blimmin' hell's teeth.
What are you standing up for?
Well, but the gearing's too high.
Change it to an easier gear.
Hot crumpets, this is ridiculous.
Well, fair dues, I appreciate the effort there, Henry. 4th gear, eco mode, stood up. How long could you have sustained all that for? I mean...
I think that sort of effort, if the climb was 3 or 4 times the length,
yeah,
I'd get through it.
Yeah, but the thing is 3 to 4 times the length. On an e-mountain bike, you'll probably be climbing 20 to 30 times the length of that in one go without stopping. That's true. And you could never do that out of the saddle in 4th gear.
But is that what we're trying to get to? Just the easiest way to get it? Is that
No. What I'm saying is, when you've got a sustained climb, it is a serious workout.
Yes, no,
it's
it's a fair cop.
It's and you'll never be able to do it with that technique in those gears. Because you're beaten, you're really beaten, and you're climbing over all these rocks. And
that's a fair observation. I think that's the one thing that e-biking kind of does pique my interest. It's more trials riding, not covering great distances, but actually just doing what you were doing in like endurance stuff, just smuggling up climbs.
Now, how about seeing, like I said earlier, people who are new to mountain biking, why don't you try it in the easiest gear and in boost mode?
Oh my word. I've been on train journeys more uncomfortable than this. Look at me go.
You look so awkward.
Mate, I feel... So I'll throw the shoulders into it. Oh.
It doesn't suit you.
Push it to the limit. I would say my stages of grief with e-bikes is I hated them, then I loved them, then I hated them, and then I loved them again, and now I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think when they first came around, I thought they were just going to be used on the road. And I was like, oh, that's absolutely fine, good, less cars, perfect. And then I felt I had my enjoyment as a mountain biker encroached slightly, and the trails I was riding, the natural trails, because I only really ride natural trails, was being deteriorated by people that I didn't feel were giving anything back to the community. They were there never digging trails, but they were there wheel spinning up them, and that I can't abide.
Oh. Now, you say that you don't get a workout. The bottom line is you decide how much of a workout you're going to get.
Yeah, that is true. But the thing that I would say is lacking, although you can undoubtedly write yourself off in terms of cardiovascular effort, I like to get back from a ride challenged and almost emotionally depleted. That, I don't think they can ever do that. Never ask that question to yourself, am I going to get to the top? Have I got another lap in me? Undoubtedly, if you want to go do intervals...
I can challenge you emotionally!
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about! Yeah! So I think I got my shoelace caught in the old chain there. Whoopsie daisy, it happens.
You talk about emotionally challenging. Do you know how emotionally challenging it is?
Hang going around with you.
Yeah, fair dues.
So we're actually going to ride some technical trails now you've been promising all day?
Let's do it. There's a nice little one here.
Oh, beautiful.
Plenty of rocks, plenty of roots, plenty of water, plenty of mud.
All right, let's do this.
The king size tour continues. After you, sir.
Now, Steve, contrary to what you might think, I'm actually a pretty sensible and reasonable person. And even I cannot deny there was a smile on my face. I don't know whether it's the trails, I don't know if it's the downhill tyres, but it was a lot of fun. Maybe it will never satisfy that type 2 fun, but it didn't fail to put a smile on my face.
Well, you say that. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you, Henry. It's these natural trails, the beautiful corners, the roots, the rocks, the earth, the smell, even the company on occasion is pretty good.
Just speak for yourself there, mate. Come on.
I'm not into bike parks. I'm not into berms. I'm not into jumps. For me, this is what mountain biking is all about.
Yeah, and that's fair, but that flies in the face of what I think where trails as natural as this, as vulnerable to erosion and getting rutted out as this, shouldn't be shuttled, and that's what we're doing.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You're getting into a monumental discussion here. So, A, are you suggesting that less people on the trails is better?
Yeah, I'm in tricky water there, mate.
The second one is, when it comes to natural trails, now I build a lot of natural trails, I'm of the idea that we should build a trail, ride it. It does become eroded because once water hangs in those holes, it's time to move on. Yes. Close the trail down, build a fresh trail. I agree with that. And that's how it works. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's also, let's be cards on the table. I'm not a geologist. I actually have basically got my opinions formed by some pre-existing opinions.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So, clearly from the mountain bikes, but yeah. I think Henry is warming to it.
You know, the industry really, e-biking is great for the industry because they can sell, it's commercial, but it's sometimes really important to not give people what they want. People want McDonald's and pornography, but we shouldn't give it to them. Do you know what I mean? There's an element of eating your greens about a non-motor assisted bike, and I think it's really important to get those Brussels sprouts down here.
There's two things I want to pick up on, which I think we should discuss because it's a subject which a lot of e-bike haters talk about. The first thing is e-bikes are cheating, and then the second thing are e-bikes are for lazy people. It kind of tends to imply that if you're on a mixed ride, then the person on the e-bike is going to be cheating. But e-bikes are for sharing, e-bikes are for everybody, and so you can have like an older person or an injured person or an unfit person. You can have these mixed rides, which you probably couldn't do on a non-e-bike.
For me personally, the only time I ride socially is rest rides. Well, so say normally double day a weekend, I train on one day and go hard. Yeah. The next day is a rest day, which is comparatively slower paced for me. So this wouldn't be needed. I can see myself, if I was living in the mountains still, living in Queenstown, Morsey, and something like that, still wanting to ride on my rest days, and something like this would be very useful as a training tool. Well,
like a lot of pro cross-country racers do. They go on their train rides, they do want a high heart rate, but they want a technical workout, they use their e-bike.
Yeah, so for something like that, I mean, if I had an e-bike, I'd want it in a very far removed guise. I'd want it something like the Canevo. Big tyres, big fork, and basically...
So you're doing downhill runs?
Just do downhill runs. That's the only... I could make my peace with that.
Can you make your peace with the whole thing that e-bikes are for lazy people?
The only thing I can't abide is complaining. If it means that people just shut the hell up, yes, absolutely. Right. Because you know what frustrates me is when I'm happy to wait. I'm on a social ride. I promise I don't train at all. I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to sit, catch up with you at the back. I'm happy to do anything. I don't put the hammer down. But don't complain. Right. Oh, this hill, like we we're talking about earlier on. Well, it's a hill for everyone. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, we can do that. But if you had an e-bike, then probably make my life a bit easier.
I got to be honest, Henry, I was slightly reluctant to come out on an e-bike ride with you, simply because in the beginning the barn doors were down, you know, there was no entry to e-biking for you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that sometimes when you're confronted with somebody that is so adamant that e-biking is the best thing in the world, your reaction will be, just leave me alone, mate. And sometimes...
Is that how I am?
Sometimes, maybe, potentially.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologise. I've got to point out something, right? We have actually been bimbling around the woods today. It's been a very mild introduction to e-mountain biking. I think, knowing how much you like to bury yourself, I think we need to get out in the mountains. I don't know if you've seen some videos we've done the Lake District of Adam Brayton, great downhiller. Been here to Knoyd Peninsula, great outdoor adventure. I think those are the kind of places which would suit you.
Yeah, I mean, today I've definitely softened on e-bikes. I'm still adamant they're not for me, but I'm happier for other people if it means I have to do less faffing. If my friends have e-bikes, that means I'll get more riding in. Perfect.
Right, okay. So, but then ultimately you don't have to make a decision. I think this is where is where people fall down. They think, I've got to make this decision. Do I like e-bikes? Am I going to ride an e-bike? It's not like that. I think the Don is quite a classic example. This is Neil Donahue, our colleague on GMBN. The Don rides an e-bike, goes and does a load of laps, comes back, maybe he goes and rides his other bike, he goes and rides a road bike. It's just bikes.
That's kind of me. Like, for me, e-bikes and all bikes are toys.
Exactly.
I'm never going to get annoyed at being like, you're not playing with your toy to my rules. I don't care. But similarly, don't tell me that I should have this toy. I just want to ride bikes. Bikes to me are like the best thing in the world.
Well, at least the toys were not out of the cot today. So thanks for watching. If you got any questions, you know, about e-mountain biking, if you're thinking about taking that big step into a new whole world of mountain biking, then let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to see any more e-bike content. There is a globe up there which you can hit subscribe to. In the meantime, for those adventures which I was talking about for Henry, the Into the Wilds, Hannah Barnes up on the Knoyd Peninsula, and also that video with Adam Brayton around the Lake District, five passes, big day out, a bit like this weather here today. I think we need to revisit our discussion about e-bikes, Henry.
Sounds good. Are you going to give me a bit less of a hard time in the office? I hope so. Let's leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Good night.